down and remove the front matter from the recording. There we go. So, hello everybody once again. Welcome to Agency Real Talk. I'm Trevor.
And I'm Tom.
And we're here talking about agencies for real.
And all the good stuff and all the bad stuff.
All the bad stuff. So last time we recorded was love your neighbor, be kind, turn the other cheek, whatever. And now we're going to talk some crap instead. We're here to
we got
dish.
a lot. We got a lot of crap to talk, I think. Trevor, you in our preamble here, you gave some really good samples of really funny, horrible horror stories of your life running an agency. I have a horror story also, but it's definitely a downer. So I want to make sure we sandwich this and have the downer in the middle and end on a couple of laughs, because I don't want to scare people with the bad things in agency life, but there's horror stories, right? They're called horror stories for a reason.
They are. So I think I will begin then with this a humorous tale of horror and woe, and horror actually features here. So I had a client in this is, I will also preface this with, all of these are parables. There comes a moral at the end. So don't think we're here just to dish. We're also here to entertain and educate. So I had a client who I'd done some work with, and things had done relatively okay with them. We do go-to-market experiments with paid ads, is what Crowdtamers does. And we had run the single worst ad campaign I'd ever run for someone. We spent $500 and didn't secure a single lead. And they were in the rideshare space, basically trying to get people to sign up to try their rideshare beta out. And I went, look, you've already paid, and I did the ads for the payment, and everything is done, and I feel so bad about how this went. I will do another run of ads for you for free, because, man, I've never spent $500 and not secured a single person sign up. Without like a technical glitch. There was no technical glitch. Their offer landed like with the dull thud of a lead balloon smacking into the ground at terminal velocity. And so I said, let's try something different. So rideshare, they were being very, and this is, I should have thought, I didn't think. Gentleman who owns the company, perfectly good guy, has lots of experience in a very big corporate environment. And so that attracts a certain sort of person. And then you've got me, who is whatever that is not. And I went, let me do something a little different for you. And he said, yeah, I can see our offer really isn't doing it. And so, awesome. All right. I brought a presentation. I have a poster board. And so I started with this here, where I went, let's go a little bit sarcastic. Instead of emphasizing benefits, let's just do some, just talk some smack. And so this was fun because I thought up the prompt. This is all Midjourney, obviously. I thought up the prompt for these, and it worked instantly on the first try, which is really rare for me. So, don't carpool downtown. Here's a bunch of reasons why you don't want to carpool downtown. Okay, cool. Got a little pushback with this, saying this looks like, burning money might be a little spicy as a topic. So this was originally a dumpster fire, and now it's just a dumpster full of money. But okay. And then I went, I've got some other ideas that are even spicier. Let me come back to you. And so they were like, oh, okay, let's do. And so the idea, at like 2 a.m, I was sleeping, and the prompt entered my head. And I leapt out of bed and dashed into my office. It's like 9 steps. Dashed into my office and sat down and put in the prompt, and it instantly worked. And I was so proud to show them. This was the best meta ad campaign I think I made all of last year. I was so happy. I'm like, they're going to love it. This is phenomenal. And
Hold on just a second, Trevor.
Yeah?
Hold on just a second. For those of you listening, this was just Midjourney images of a dumpster full of money, a gas tank spewing dollar bills, of what was
a security guard
first one? And a sleeping security guard. So
and then the slogan was like, don't carpool downtown. We'd hate for Frank to get a real job. There's a sleeping security guard. Or don't carpool downtown. This really is the best way to spend $40 a day. These sorts of things. It's like a kind of a negative, backhanded slap sort of thing. And then I had the really good idea I was so proud of. I was like, we're going to go do it. And so this was running up into Halloween last year. The only scary thing about Carpooling 2.0 is, and then I had a bunch of different slug lines. And so this one is Chucky from, I think, the movie Chucky. and it's just how much more fun a commute is with friends. Or then there's like a 1950s Bela Lugosi Dracula with the only scary thing about carpooling 2 to 0 is getting back home before nightfall. Or you don't have to be a monster to save money on your commute with Frankenstein. And then finally, the only scary thing about, and then this is capital T thing because it's the swamp thing, about carpooling 2 to 0 is the money you'll save. And so these are all like creepy because carpooling's a little scary, right? Like a little stranger danger, right? Don't hop into a car with strangers type thing. And I was deliberately hanging the lampshade, as they say, instead of pretending it's not there. Like let's actually hit on it. And and the images are, I think you can say they're quirky and charming. They're not actually scary.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that.
They're
That's
quirky and charming, not actually scary. I mean,
yeah.
you're not gonna have a kid click on the ad, but
But we
like also it's like you hit the nail on the head when it comes to I'm looking for something different. If we're talking
yeah
about carpooling,
yeah
you haven't seen ads like that.
you have not you have not. And so the client saw these ads and instantly went, "We can't work together anymore."
Oh.
Like, not even, not the way to go, Trevor. Good try. Just like I opened up Pandora's box. I saw the insanity contained therein. Quickly shut it and pack it away in Indiana Jones's warehouse because we don't we don't ever want to engage with this particular bit of insanity again. And I feel like so two things here. One is like lesson, right? Read your client. I thought these were phenomenal ads. I was chortling the whole time I wrote them. I thought they were A plus material. This is equivalent to going to a comedy club with a routine that you know is going to kill, and you don't even get crickets chirping. All you get is like some guy in the back corner busts a nasty fart. Like that's it. That's all you get. So, like, know your audience, right? If you're going to play a Baptist church, don't show up with a bunch of like Jesus jokes, right? Find the audience and tell the right one. In this case, I didn't even think about the client. I was so proud of how clever I was that I went, I have to share this. Now, it was a free ad campaign thing I did anyway, so I didn't lose money when I lost the client. But I've never had somebody see a thing I did that wasn't bad. I've done bad work before. This isn't bad work. It's just bad fit for the client and just reject me so hard that it was like if we just never spoke again, my life would be better. So there's your lesson is know the client before you present even something you're really proud of. Maybe just share it with the team. Be like, isn't this cool? Ha ha ha. Alt F4. Let's make something the client likes instead.
Whew. Well, for what it's worth, if I had a carpooling company, I'd run those ads. Those are pretty funny.
They're freaking hilarious, Tom.
Awesome. I think they're really great. They're really
but,
great. But
so there's my horror story, and the horror is the actual ads themselves. I don't think the client was that horrible.
That qualifies as a horror story on a technicality, but I'll allow it.
Judges score it 6 out of 10. The Russian judge
I hope someone in the comments doesn't say, "All right, now I want a spooky story from agency."
Next October, we'll come back around with that.
Yeah, great. So, all right, my turn. I have a horror story that hits a couple different notes. So let me set the scene for you. Just started an agency that I had for the first time. Had very few people that I knew I could rely on or hire. And from mentors and previous agencies I was running, I said, you know what? I need to get away from the work as soon as possible, right? Set up a system, find good people, put them in the system, and get out of the work. So I had ended up hiring the people closest to me, right? A couple of friends, a couple of people that I've worked with in the past. And we had a very particular client come in the door. They were incredibly communicative. In other words, demanding. In other words, specific. and really liked to tell us how to do the job, as opposed to saying, here's my problem, I'm trusting you to figure out the solution to this problem. So when you get these, this particular person was a CEO that was engaged in every aspect of their business, from the sales to fulfillment to hiring to you name it. Every decision passed through them. And as we start unloading all of these different problems that the organization is running into, one of them was a very specific problem around creating slide presentations. And we wanted to automatically create a slide presentation. The problem being that this particular slide presentation had a lot of different permutations. So if you're familiar with automation and you've built some scenarios in Make or Zapier, you know that you can do branching logic pretty easy, right? You say, oh, it's either this way or it's that way. But as soon as you sort of go through maybe 5 degrees of freedom, things start to get a little unruly, right? Because now it is harder to build stuff with no code than it would be to use code, right? Full stop. It would be way easier to do all of those degrees of freedom and say this filter, this attribute, that attribute, and then, produce a presentation. So because the communication wasn't very good, I'll say on either side, right? On my side, I had a friend of mine that was put in a consulting circumstance that maybe they weren't ready for. On the other side, we have a difficult client who is demanding and specific about the things that they want. So it was two really not great. It wasn't a great pairing, right? We'll put it that way. And the client had friction with the consultant, and the consultant very vocally had issues with the client, right? As I think they both, from their own perspectives, are justified, right? There's friction there; it's justified. Okay. So the thing that broke the camel's back here was when, sort of the last payment was 2 months ago, and if you know anything about the way that we've been talking about accelerating your agency and really, building an agency, that cash flow is really important. And if we're not getting cash from a particular client, it makes it difficult to allocate time to do that client. So here we are, not being paid in 2 months. And the modifications to this particular slide show being created, the list gets longer and longer and longer, and the conditions get more specific and unique and more specific and more unique, where we need to create different slides with different content, with different images, it was endless, right? And finally, we landed on a position where we would say, all right, why don't we, instead of creating all of these like dependencies, create the full presentation and just delete things, right? So all of this branching logic, the consultant that was doing this, heart goes out to him, built this whole thing, threw it out the window after all of these different refinements, and approached the problem again from a different angle. Turned out to be a lot better way to approach it. It was just a much better, more robust automation, and was delivered to the client. And we said, great, we're done, right? I'm handing this off to you. Goodbye. Thank you. Thanks, but no thanks. We're not doing any more business together. Here you go. And I get back a mountain of an email in 6 hours, right? It's just like, I don't think this person has been doing anything except writing this email back to me about, oh, great, this is done. But here's the other 40 things that we were supposed to get done in the last 90 days, and it's not done yet. So you're going to fix all this stuff, right? And like do all these other things, right? And it was so combative. I mean, this client from the beginning made it clear that they have been burned by tech people before, that they will not be burned again, that they will dictate all the terms, that they will, win in our arrangement. So, being the early days, being not as experienced as we are now, right? We accepted that client. We accepted the fact that they had money and they were willing to pay for it. So, why not? What's the worst that can happen? Famous last words, right?
Yes.
So, I'll tell you what the worst thing is that can happen. Not only was that client a colossal waste of time, set records for me personally in every department of wasting my time, energy, and emotional just stamina just out the window, right? But it also, I think, most importantly, uh, actually burned a bridge with the consultant that was on that particular client.
Gotcha.
And that kicked off a whole bunch of other issues with that consultant, and we ended up needing to part ways. And that was personally a very painful thing to experience. Hadn't quite had a scenario like that before. So the learning, to pull it back to your standard, Trevor, is not only to believe the client when they tell you something, right? Hey, I'm
Yes.
difficult. Hey, I'm particular. Hey, I'm gonna get my money's worth. Believe them because they're probably telling the truth. And the other side is, I wish there was a way to have salvaged the relationship, the working relationship, the whatever with that consultant who clearly felt abused in that circumstance. And the people, a part of your team, are the most important thing that you can defend. Uh, it's worth saying goodbye to the troubled clients if you can retain and support your team internally. I always say, I get to hold the shit umbrella. That's what the CEO's job is. You get to hold that umbrella. And hopefully you can protect your team from, just malicious clients like that. So there's my horror story. It was.
There's your horror story. It's a downer. It's a downer. I have had a client I have fired because they were polite with me and they were a-holes to my team. My team is predominantly women and younger, I guess. I think none of them is over 35. So, uh, and when they get on a call with the client would be a real tool. And of course, I record my calls, and so even when I'm not in the call, if I'm invited, my recorder shows up. And so I said to the client one time, like, "Look, you were very dismissive and unpleasant towards this person, and we all have bad days. I get it, but don't be that way. If you have a problem with something, come talk to me. I'll relay it to my team." That actually does come to the other story I was going to share, which is a lot like yours. So maybe I'll share one after that too. Maya Angelou says, "When people show you who they are, believe them the first time," and that's really important to catch. I'm part of, and people who are here knowing me and not knowing you in the stream, I'm part of the Raise to Launch kind of group of agencies. I stream with them like once a month as well, just stuff about other parts of startup life. And we got a client through them who was way under market for me, just tremendously so. But because it was part of this group and it was our first ever contract together, I took it. Which one? Don't do that. So my average client is like 5K ish a month nowadays, and they were $2,000 for a 90-day contract, which was just Jesus week. But okay, fine. You know what? It's a new thing. We're trying it.
Parody.
We'll see. Yeah. Well, the thought was then there'd be a follow on that was more like 6K a month from there. I was like, okay, well, fine. Um, so uh, and this was the client who was very unpleasant with my team. Now they were in Europe. My team is in India or in Africa, so they were taking some calls with this client, and I was like, don't be this way. You're unpleasant. Once, right, is a chance. Do it twice. We're gonna part ways. And then she started saying to other members of the Raise to Launch group how incompetent and unpleasant I was. And at this point, I messaged the people on the Race Lunch crew. I'm like, look, this client's not. I'm done with them. We're parting ways. I am finished. And they were like, no, don't go. Right? There's blame on both sides. And I'm like, okay, that is possible. But I'm a professional. This person's a clown. And which, by the way, that's the kind of thing an a-hole says. I agree, right? That someone who says I'm professional, this person's a clown, is an a-hole. Yes, but I was also right.
You could be biased and correct at the same
I could
time.
be biased and correct. I believe I actually said this person has, we'll say poopy. This is G-rated. A poopy attitude. They're a poopy client, and I don't deal with poopy clients. Right? That was the in Slack message with the team, and they were like, and one of the people at Race to Launch is very much a people person. I am not a people person. He's like, no, hey, calm down. There's positive, what do you call it? Criticism, constructive criticism. There's negative criticism. You're on the negative side. So it means you're a part of the problem. I'm like, oh, these are all fair things, but also I'm done. And they're like, no. And so passed things up. And for about 3 more weeks, we limped along like two tomcats in an alley hissing at each other. And then the client went, we're done. Give me back my money. And I laughed. I literally, like that when she said that. And she was like, I'm like, she was very aghast at my reaction. And it was instant. I didn't mean to. It's just when you say that to me, and like, I was just, no, like that quick. Because I'm like, you don't understand how far under market I came with you. There's no provision for a refund. And we're also 4 months into what was supposed to be 2 months worth of work to deliver this. I am done.
That reminds me of another story to share, but go ahead.
So, and then I parted ways. They found a new marketer, whatever. Every other member of the Raise to Launch crew now has also had that client stiff them. And everybody is like, this client is impossible to deal with. And I like, and we talk once a week, the whole team. And I'm like, I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm also not, because when I called that person a clown and you were like, you're the a-hole, I'm like, but I'm right. Exhibit A, Your Honor. Right? Like, yeah. I was right. So both these stories are when someone tells you who they are, believe them for the first time. A client nickels and dimes you over, like, hey, you said you spent $100 on this. You spent 105. I want a $5 refund. Here's your $5, and also let's part ways. Right? Like, it's that easy.
That's the cost, right? It's $5 to get that person the heck out of your life forever.
And it is a bargain. I mean, for $1,000, it's worth. I had another client who, they were consistently always late to every meeting, and then would want to run late as a result to catch time up. And I'd just be like, and after I think the 4th or 5th time, I went, never mind, right? It's fine. Go your own way. Go your own way. It's fine. If you can't respect my time, I'm apparently going to get a head trauma and go blurry. There we go. If you can't respect my time, like, that's fine, but I got to respect the next person's time.
Yeah.
I'm still blurry. I got to respect the next person's time, even if you won't. And so kind of try to manage things that way. You said you had a second,
I do.
Tell me.
So asking for a refund, right? It's something I think every agency has run into. Probably, right? Someone asking for a refund after you already spent time, after you already did work, after whatever. So in the early days, again, we used to do hourly work, right? Show up to a call, pay a few bucks, and we'll or pay a few bucks, we'll show up to a call and solve a problem on the fly over a Zoom call, something like this, right? And it was like December one year, and we had somebody come in that wanted to build a custom CRM for the crypto sphere.
Oh no!
So it was cool, right? We got WhatsApps and Telegrams and Discords and all these things, and there's no CRM for that. And it's like, wow, you know what? That's actually a not bad problem, right? Like, there's a whole bunch of crypto organizations. They're all dispersed over all these different networks, and these networks aren't really built to create a CRM. So, okay, let's have a call and discuss, right? A couple of calls pro bono, right? Just there to learn what the requirements are, how people and communities are actually assembled around this organization, and like what a CRM means to them inside of the partnerships department or inside of, this particular organization. Eventually, they said, it was right before the new year. They said, let's do it. Let's I'm gonna pay you for an hour, and we're gonna build some stuff together. And we ended up building an integration for Telegram to automatically, basically, find or create existing users in that Telegram group inside of an Airtable base. Wonderful, right? Pretty straightforward, really nice. You need unique users, right? You need a set of contacts. That's what we did with Telegram. Now we just need to do it for Discord and WhatsApp and a couple others. So we deliver it. Silence. Silence for weeks. Silence for months. July, the following year, comes around.
7 months later. Okay.
July, right? I get an email. Hey, we never ended up finishing that build with Airtable. I'd like a refund. It says in your policy that satisfaction's guaranteed, and I'm not satisfied. 7 months later.
Wow.
And this was a matter of principle at this point, right?
Oh yeah, I will ride this one to hell or glory. No, I get you.
That's what I said. So I was a firm no. I was like, this guy's got a bunch of explicitives coming out of my mouth. I'm like, there is no way they're getting a dime out of us. And the team changed my mind.
Oh.
Believe it or not. So the team changed my mind because what is the cost of this opportunity right now? It's $250. Sure. And this person goes away forever.
Yep.
Or you hold that $250 and you roll the dice whether or not they're going to be a squeaky wheel and lie and create problems in ways that you are anticipating right now. And just like that $5 was worth it to say goodbye, that $250 is worth it to say goodbye. I will not work with that organization again. I will not work with that person ever again. And what's done is done. That was what I was worth to them. It was $250. That's all I was worth. And at the end of the day, they didn't think it was worth anything. So goodbye.
That's fair. I have definitely processed some refunds. I had a client out of Pakistan who I just couldn't ever wake up early enough to take calls with them. And so they paid their $5,000 deposit. And then I think 45 days later, they were like, we've never met. And I'm like, this is true, brother. He's like, you want my money back? I want my money back. And I'm like, that is fair. Send it back. Like, no questions, right? Like, I get you there. Not infrequently, I have clients, someone I've introduced you from a client of mine who they went broke. They went broke. They owed me $8,000. And I was like, I don't blame you, the person behind the company. So I have helped refer him around to other opportunities. But definitely I was like, I'm not gonna try and be a creditor for a company that's got, $400,000 in debts, and here I am with my, hey, I've got 5% of that. Can give me, please, give me some. Like, no, it's not worth it. I think the fact of the matter is, almost no matter how bad a client is, you're better off parting ways with whatever unpaid.
You're better off, just burning the money. Just burn the money.
Just walk away.
Walk away.
Refunds are like, if I'm not in the wrong, I won't tend to give a refund.
Yeah.
But I'm also pretty willing to admit I'm in the wrong. That one horror story client of the, hey, like, you did all this work outside, like, that client said, hey, we have a website, we have all these things in place, we have branding, we just need you to make performance marketing work. And I'm like, cool, where's the website? They're like, oh, it'll be up soon. I built the website, I built the landing pages, I built the branding. And they're like, hey, the ads don't work. And I'm like, yeah, because all my time in this contract got spent on building you a website, building you these things.
Other things.
And like, so I did a bunch of stuff outside of the contract, which that's my fault, right? But also, we're done now. I'll give one last, a little more humorous one, maybe, and then we can wrap up. So I had a client in the hardware space where they were really struggling. They were doing they had a team of 12 people. They were doing about $150 a week in income, which is not, if you work the math out, profit. And So they're like, there's an opportunity for us to maybe pivot, but we have to validate the pivot first. So I went, okay, that's my bread and potato. That's my meat and butter.
I
Anyway,
don't think it goes like that, but keep going.
one of the ways, look, take the sample of 4, organized a suit. So had that pivot tested over the course of like 12 weeks, took them from $150 a week to $4,000 a day. And with ads that were, I didn't have, this was before I hired my designer, the ads did not look good, but they worked. They
That's
worked gangbusters. And things did well enough. They went, oh, we're going to hire a real VP of marketing and bring this in house now. You'll still work with the VP of marketing, Trevor. Don't worry. I'm like, okay, whatever. This is fine. The VP of marketing is a brand marketer. So he goes, this doesn't look good. And I go, yes, but it makes a lot of money. And he goes, well, we're going to make it look good, and then it will make even more money. And I go, you know what? That could be true. Let's go. It didn't. Their return on ad spend was something like 12-1, which is crazy high. And then with the new look, it was like 4-1. So not like a little bit worse, tremendously worse. Was still profitable. And he's all about the brand and the feeling and all this I don't care about. And so I kept being like, nothing we've done has ever equaled what I did, where I took a stock art picture of an alarm clock on a green background and just ran that ad as a simple like animation. It was for tinnitus. And so the alarm clock ringing sound, like everyone knows if you've got tinnitus, and it had an animation with just filled out like a Google search bar of why do my ears ring all the time? Like that was it, right? And it just worked. Like it worked. It made money. It worked. It worked. Never came back to that performance. And after like 3 or 4 months of struggling to get the pretty stuff to work as well as the ugly stuff did, I was finally like, I don't think I'm the right marketer for you guys. Like, you be successful, have a good life, all those things. I'm not mad at you, but you're making decisions based off a rubric that doesn't make sense to me. And that's, I think, the last lesson, the last parable I shall impart to you today, listener, is some clients are a bad fit because they're bad clients. Some clients are a bad fit just because what they do isn't either anymore or maybe ever a fit for what you want to do. And it's good to part ways with those clients before you hate each other.
Yeah.
Because eventually you will. But if you part ways on friendly grounds, like I got referral work from other members of the team in the years after because they remembered me and they liked me. And so we didn't have an acrimonious relationship and a bad split. So if you identify a client that's for some reason shifted into not a good fit anymore, I had a client that was actually a great fit. We made them, we took their ad spend from $4,000 a month to $500,000 a month in 6 months.
Wow.
And that's tremendous, like 7-1 return on ad spend. But they were doing $500,000 a month, and I was collecting like $26K a month in agency fees from them. And I was like, you guys need to hire someone because I'm making you a lot of money, but I'm also costing you a lot. And you could hire someone for 6 a month, and with overhead, maybe be up to 8 or 9 to do the same thing I'm doing for you. And so, like, they grew to a size where, I mean, I could have kept billing them, but it was right for me to say, go, like, take this in house, go away, right? Or a company where the decision making matrix just doesn't make sense for me anymore. Part ways with them, friendly, is way better than wringing every last single penny you can out of them and then parting ways when they hate you.
I mean, the horror stories really come from a couple sources, right? It's like misalignment of ethics or of understanding, particularly around requirements documents, right? Or saying what you're going to do, doing what you said, and then telling them what you did, right? Like that, those three things again and again and again. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. Like that's what agencies need to do. And when you're telling them what you told them and they thought that you told them something else, then they're confused and it becomes a nightmare scenario. But getting that clarity from the beginning is hard, and you just need the reps to identify, oh wait, this is where it's going to go off the rails, right? Because it has gone off the rails before. It's not, the goal shouldn't be to not make a mistake, because mistakes happen and you need them to learn. And if you don't make them, then when a really big opportunity to make a really big mistake comes, you might make that mistake, right?
You might not see that. Oh, I used to get this wrong. I better not again.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's,
Definitely.
there's real benefits to having problem clients. Like even in the horror story that I shared earlier about, the squeaky wheel and, getting dictated what to do and all that stuff. We've set up so many systems internally, so many checks and qualifications that say, all right, we're never doing this again in a circumstance where, 5 years down the road, like we don't want to get sued. We don't want, something else to come out. But because we had that little hiccup in the beginning, you sort of get to adapt and appreciate how young and inexperienced you were at that moment. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's going to be 100 mistakes I make this year that lead into some flavor of a horror story, but that's okay. We need them so that in 5 years you don't make the bigger one.
There we go. I'll set a calendar reminder so that end of Feb 2025, we'll revisit the topic with our new horror clients.
That sounds wonderful.
Excellent.
Follow, like, subscribe.
Follow, like, subscribe. Hear more the things that we were dumb at.
Yeah.
Because, man, do we share those.
Oh, man. Well, I think I don't know if it's for this episode, but I do feel the necessity of at least talking about the rock star clients, the superstar clients, the what's the opposite of a horror story? A fairy tale story?
A fairy tale. Hey, I like it. Although,
because I think I have more of those than I do a horror story.
I'm not sure I have that many fairy tale clients. I have a couple of fairy tale partners, people who just like consistently bring me really good people to talk to.
Yeah, I definitely have a couple fairy tale clients that I could talk on and on about, that I've just like learned a bunch from, referred a bunch. We'll save it for another pod, because I don't want to spoil it here with horror stories as the subtitle, but it's important to know that, at least in my experience, I've probably had 2 fairy tale clients or 1.5 fairy tale clients for every 1 horror story.
Well, you're an optimist and I'm not. So I think I find fewer fairy tale clients because it's the same as like, it took me years to learn to tell my employees, hey, you did a good job. As opposed to just being like, you did the work you were supposed to do. What do you want, a freaking trophy? And like that mindset also for clients being like, oh, I achieved a good result for you and you paid me. What do I want, a freaking trophy?
Yeah. So, and notice we did horror stories about clients rather than horror stories about bad employees.
Oh, that's dangerous to do. Like I would not publicly broadcast a recording with that, because too many things can be traced. You're like, oh, this person said this about this person. Let me go see who used to work for his company.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the company's not around anymore, so there's a couple things I could say. But yeah, I hear that. I hear that. Clients are probably safe space. I mean, there's very, very few. I can probably count them on one hand of like bad employees I've had. But that's okay.
I've had. I mean, at previous companies, back when I worked at Electronic Arts in the quality assurance team, which basically, literally, the 2 most important questions on the hiring questionnaire were, do you have any felonies? And then, but were they violent ones?
And the answer,
if you had a felony that wasn't violent, we'd still hire you.
Well, that's okay. Hey, that's not that.
No, just think about the fact that you've got hundreds of thousands of dollars of video game equipment in a basically a locker room sweatshop environment with people who are like convicted car thieves and burglars.
Okay. I mean, it's probably not the right environment, but I'm happy there's still, there's an opportunity there for them.
That's fair. They got work. They got work for them. But I had, like, for employee horror stories, man, we had some characters there. We had a serial arsonist who worked there. Ooh. Who was an interesting problem to solve.
I bet.
That's a different story. We're going to run too long here. But look, the moral of the story: 1, don't hire arsonists. If you're not returned to office, go ahead and hire an arsonist. But
equal opportunity.
That's right. If he burns his place down, that's fine. But like lessons here, right? People tell you who they are all the time in sales calls. in kickoff calls, in every interaction with them. Unless you are utterly desperate, pay attention and don't take the people who you're going to regret working with. There's one. Communication, SOPs, like setting all this up, super important as well. And I think the third one is everybody hires bad clients. I'd argue the first year you're working, probably most of your clients are going to be bad clients because you don't really know what you're doing yet. Learn from them and hire better clients next time. And when your clients age out, when they are no longer a fairy tale client and they're looking more like a Brothers Grimm client and heading towards a horror story, because Brothers Grimm is very definitely on the border there, part ways, right? Get out.
That's okay. Yeah,
It's okay.
it's really okay to say, I'm so happy for you. I'm not the one that's going to help you go from 2 to 3. I took you from 0 to 1.
Yeah.
That's all we can do together. Keep me in mind if you know anyone else that is, looking for XYZ service or doing XYZ thing.
Yeah.
It is way better to end on a high note than to be forced to stop on a low note.
Yeah. And there's a good way to end a podcast on a high note. Thanks, everybody. As always, you can find Tom at X-Ray Tech on YouTube. And where can you find me? You can find me on LinkedIn as Trevor Longino and on the web as crowdtamers.com. Oh, look, I'm repping my merch today.
Hey, nice.
Crowd Tamers. Hey, look at that. I came prepared.
That's pretty good.
All righty. Thanks to everybody. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Take care.
See ya.
Stop recording. Stop.